Tyrese Maxey is the next face of the NBA, and not enough people are acknowledging that. I want to break down a couple layers why that is the case, from a personality standpoint, from a basketball standpoint, and some of the honors that he has already received. And headlining that was this update we got that Tyrese Maxey has been recognized as the 23-24 NBA Sportsmanship Award winner. Maxey receives the Joe Dumars Trophy for the annual honor that recognizes the player who best represents the ideals of sportsmanship on the court. So I think Maxey's obviously a great candidate for this. That we do not see many people bring the level of passion, the smiling face that seems the smile on his face that never seems to leave him, and just the personality that he plays with. It also was an awesome video watching his parents surprise him, give him the award. We know what a family guy he is, that we see his mom and dad at a ton of Sixers games, constantly sitting courtside, constantly being shown by the cameras, which is very cool there. And with Tyrese specifically, that's the number one place where I want to start, is when you think about marketability, it is Tyrese Maxey. That this is one of the nicest human beings in the world. And when I'm evaluating what the likable standpoint as far as universally. We just went through the dregs of the Knicks series where Knicks fans, Sixers fans getting at each other. And to this day, I can't find any Knicks fan to say a negative word about Tyrese Maxey. And I still think that says a lot about him. And by the way, the most important part in all this is the dude is an absolute bucket, that the dude keeps getting better on the basketball court. And to speak about that specifically here, let's take a look at his progression that we see year in and year out him improving. And coming off a season in which he averaged 25.9 points per game, 6.2 assists, 3.7 rebounds, 1.0 steal, just continues to improve. And probably the biggest leap that I will point to from a statistical standpoint is definitely that assist growth. Growing from 3.5 assists last year to 6.2 assists this year. That was what the team needed for him to take on more of a point guard role, that especially being the case before Kyle Lowry was on this roster for most of the season, although Pat Bev certainly played a role as well prior to that. But Maxey was questioned if he can be an actual point guard. Can he be a guy who sets the table for the offense rather than being just a score-first guy? And I do think he answered that call. And by the way, another point that I wanted to harp on that I don't think gets enough recognition is the massive strides forward he's taken forward on the defensive side of the ball. That when Maxey came into the league, that was one of the questions about him, and tends to be the case whenever there is a undersized guard. We know that Maxey only stands about 6'2" in that 6'3" range, so he's going to be a little limited physically on the types of players that he can match up with. But to his credit, year in and year out, and specifically this season, he took a massive leap forward. That I'm no longer willing to accept that Tyrese Maxey is a negative defender. That I think to this point, what he has created himself and grown into is a guy that is at least a league average defender. And frankly, I would argue he's a little bit better than that. That I do think he competes hard. He fights off ball in a way that very few guys do. He has active hands. He tries. He's quick. He's good enough on the defensive end. We're never going to see Tyrese Maxey in the Defensive Player of the Year conversations, but MVP might be a different story there. And to dive into a little more of why I feel that way, number one, he's a playoff riser, and we've seen that so far. To jump into his playoff stats, looking at just this year, 29.8 points per game, 6.8 assists, 5.2 rebounds per game, shot 40% from three, and by the way, 44.5 minutes per game, which led the entire NBA. So for all the Josh Hart love for gutting it out as much as he did, Tyrese was ahead of you in these conversations for how much you are playing per game. And I do think that that is well earned by Tyrese Maxey, because not only is that a situation which he's on the floor for as long as he is, but he's constantly buzzing around, running up and down. That he logs more miles than just about anyone in the entire NBA. I know he led during the regular season, have not looked at the playoff numbers there. And just to put into perspective how special this season was for Tyrese Maxey, I did want to bring up these here. That we have Maxey concluded his fourth NBA campaign in 23-24 as a top 11 scorer in the league, averaging a career high in points at 25.9, assists 6.2, and steals 1.0. He was selected to his first NBA All-Star game on February 1st and later became the second player in franchise history to be named the league's most improved player. Maxey averaged just 1.7 turnovers this season, joining Dallas's Kyrie Irving also this season as the only two players in league history to average at least 25 points per game and 5 assists with fewer than 2.0 turnovers for a full campaign. That is pretty absurd stuff that both Kyrie and Tyrese Maxey have accomplished the same feat in the season and done something that no one else in NBA NBA history has done. And that decision making with the ball is one of the reasons why I think Tyrese Maxey has been as trusted as quickly as he has. And we know we had to go through the battles during the Doc Rivers era, who notoriously does not trust anyone with a birth certificate that says you're younger than a certain age. But Tyrese even found a way to break that trust. And frankly, I think a lot of this growth that we've seen from him is a lot more about him having the opportunity to do it rather than him improving as a player. And for sure, he got better throughout time. I'm not denying that whatever by any means, but I will just point out that like year one as a rookie, I think he was better than being capable of playing 15.3 minutes per game, scoring just 8 points, getting just 1.7 3-point attempt. But I think some of that had a lot to do with opportunity. But as far as some of the areas of growth that I did want to point out and how much I think this is an intriguing curve that he seems to be in the direction of, I did want to dive into some of the advanced stats here. And some of the more notable, for starters, his player efficiency rating taking a growth on a year in, year out basis from 14.5 as a rookie all the way up to 19.8 now. I do love his 3-point attempt rates have climbed up significantly. Just 24% as a rookie. That's all the way up to 40.1% this season. And by the way, I think that's especially impressive that that's near the same as last year, considering how much time was without Joel Embiid and how much of his offensive production or 3-point shots come off Embiid's gravity that he contains as a player. The free throw rate's interesting to me that we've seen this kind of go up and down a little bit. That 16.3% as a rookie, 24.7% in his sophomore season, 23.3% last year, and 26.6% this year. So for starters for this one, that he needs to get his free throw rate up in general. And unfortunately, the reality of the situation is we might need to teach Tyrese Maxey to foul bait a little bit more. That he might have to take a book out of Joel Embiid or a page out of Joel Embiid's book, because Maxey has one of the worst whistles in the entire league. And I do think a part of it is how aggressive and how fast he attacks the rim, that he does not get the benefit of the doubt. One of his true strengths as a player is the way that he can be going a million miles per hour out the basket and still find a way to kiss it off the glass and a soft factor to let it just drop right in there. But when we speak about getting to the line, getting free points, and how much that matters, that is something that I would like to see Tyrese find a way. Maybe that does mean slowing down his pace as he attacks the basket a little way to get a little more contact or whatever the case. Regardless, I think the bottom line here is that his whistle deserves far more respect than is the case, and these numbers are only going to get better when that accurately represents itself. To jump into a couple other that I am really excited by here, check out the turnover percentage and usage percentage right next to each other. So these are not supposed to be inversely related the way they are in this. That as a rookie, an 8.2% turnover rate on 23% usage rate. Flash forward to this season, a 28% usage rate on a better turnover percentage, just 6.8%. That's really impressive stuff and speaks to the decision making that he does make with the ball in his hands. That is an area of growth which I did not expect for him to be capable of taking that much of a leap. And by the way, it is also, you can note the difference in the assist percentage. Again, these are not supposed to be inversely related. That when you have, a higher usage, you're expected to make more mistakes, and it has been the opposite with Tyrese Maxey. A career high 26.7% assist percentage this season. Those are real deal high level assist numbers. That is point guard stuff for a guy that was doubted as being capable of being a point guard. Now, I don't know if in the long term that is the best role for Tyrese Maxey. I think he's always going to be more of a score-first guy, but there's nothing wrong with that. And the fact that he's proved that he is capable of being just a point guard, being a pure point guard, a table setter for others when the opportunity presents itself, that's notable from a roster construction standpoint. That now you can zig and zag a little bit in the roster construction. That whether that means that you're trusting Tyrese Maxey to be the primary ball handler on a possession-by-possession basis, maybe surround the rest of the team with athletic wings and shooters to get a little bigger, have a little more advantage on the boards than has been the case, surround it with three-point shooters that are capable of lighting it up as Maxey and Embiid run their two-man, or maybe it is an opportunity in which you want to keep Tyrese Maxey off ball, where you do want to bring in a true point guard, not James Harden because we've seen that experience, but a player like that in which allows Maxey the freedom to move off ball, run off pin downs, all these things. These are all great ways to utilize him. So when you think about the complete package that Tyrese Maxey is, from a basketball player, the way he's improving, the personality that he possesses, the marketability that he is as a player and as a person, it is the complete package, and a guy that I do think deserves larger recognition on NBA scales. That he will be the face of this Sixers franchise in the short term, maybe even shorter than we realize. That as great as Joel Embiid is, there is this level of aura that Tyrese Maxey possesses that we've never truly seen with Joel. Maybe early in his days when he was in his trolling, having fun, breaking out the airplane and the celebrations and all the things that he did, but it does feel like Joel's much more about the business, about the private life, while Tyrese Maxey is ready to elevate into the true superstardom status. And by the way, don't worry about the man's pockets either, because he is going to get paid this summer. That we do know that he is a free agent entering this year. There is seemingly a strong understanding between both Tyrese Maxey and the Sixers. There's no fear that a deal will get done, and frankly, I expect him to get every penny that he will earn. And just to dive into specifically what that will be is, assuming he does not make an All-NBA team, which I do not expect to be the case, he'll be eligible for a 25% maximum contract. That ultimately will come out to 5 years, $205.9 million. If he does make an All-NBA, then it will be bumped up to $247 million there. The bottom line is the dude is going to make a ton of money, and deservingly so. And by the way, that does mean that the conversation does change a little bit with Tyrese Maxey. With money comes expectation in the NBA, and that is why people are as critical of Tobias Harris as they are. I have zero doubt that Tyrese Maxey will live up to this contract, and probably for the first time in the Sixers era, I have no doubt that this is the right decision to give him a max. Even if you want to flashback to the Joel Embiid extension, I was a little nervous based on the injury news that we did know, the risk that came with giving him all this money, with some concern for how often he was going to be on the court. I was fearful of that contract at the time. Ben Simmons, I did not feel at the time that he earned it, that he was ready to take these next steps. And by the way, that turned out to be pretty correct there. Tyrese Maxey, have none of these doubts. He's available, he's healthy, he's young, and he possesses a hunger and desire to get better every single day. 1% better every day at a way that we just don't see with a lot of NBA athletes. So Tyrese Maxey, take the keys to this franchise. Be the face of the Sixers, and maybe end up being the face of the NBA when everything is all said and done. That's how fired up I am about Tyrese Maxey. That's how high I think the ceiling is for him as a player, him as a person, him as a personality, and I cannot wait to be here start to finish for whatever the rest of his career has entail for us. So appreciate you guys for tuning in this video. The only other player that I will throw out there that I had kind of in the vicinity of just likability as Tyrese Maxey is probably Anthony Edwards. I think Maxey and Ant are probably the top two when you just combine the whole package for personality, for game, and obviously I do think there's an affection for the young guys upcoming that you want to get in early on that side of things. So I think they check those boxes as well. But if you have any other names, I would love to hear them in the comment section. Appreciate you guys for tuning in once again. The sky is the limit for Tyrese Maxey. Make sure you are dropping a like on this video, subscribing to keep the Sixers Digest family growing, and any comments that you do have. So appreciate you guys once again, and talk with you next time right here on Sixers Digest.